Uh, uh. What's up, sports fans? FanDuel's Ed coming to you live. WTP Sports Dudes, and we are back with another banger. Um, Today we got something special for you coming in. Today is officially the first day we're starting our 12-week series of blank will win the national championship if this happens. Um, we are going to be basing this series off of the ESPN top 25 post spring rankings. You could just Google that into YouTube, on Google, and find the rankings and kind of follow along to know which teams we'll be having coming up. This week, starting at number 12, we'll be diving in with the Arizona State Sun Devils. But before we get into that, we want to give a special shout out to our sponsors, Super Cat Nano. He does our music for us. Shout out to that guy. Also, we want to thank K&T Goodies. You can find Mr. Kevin Bird on IG. They're also located on Social Nutritions on 3616 South Hamilton Road. Go check out that stuff. It's quality stuff. We also want to give another shout out to who else? What is it? The Chef 5991. You can find at dchef.5991 on IG and on TikTok as well. So let's go ahead and get a rundown on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Just to start off with, they got a real good shot this year. They have good odds to make the playoffs. We're going to start with Kenny Dillingham, who's a real good up-and-coming young coach. He kind of turned that program around. I know 2 years ago, back in 2023, they were like 3-9. Like I said, they made it to the playoffs last year. Definitely gave Texas all they could handle in that first round. And not only did they give Texas a lot to handle, they also returned a lot from that team last year. So as far as returning production, they have 9 offensive starters returning. We know Cam Scatterbo was one of the guys that they did lose. They're definitely going to have to replace him. Not going to be an easy feat to replace a guy like that. But we do got a lot of returning production. We're going to go ahead and start off with Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt is an early Heisman candidate, hopeful in my eyes. I think he's probably going to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football this season. And I think this team, if they get the best version from Sam Levitt, it's going to be a handful for a lot of people to deal with. Just because this guy, he's not only an amazing quarterback at throwing the ball, but he also can move with his legs, and he can keep his offense on time just by picking up certain first downs. And he could just pick up certain first downs whenever he needs to. So I expect a big year out of Sam Levitt. Last year, He threw for over 2,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Now, one thing I do think here we need to see the next step in Sam Levitt is his completion rating. His completion percentage was only 61%. So if he can get that probably north of 65, 66%, I feel like that's the next step. And also, probably they're gonna need him to throw a few more touchdowns this season as well. Also, he had a what 110 attempts on 443 yards rushing last year. We know them yards can get tricky in college football because I don't know why college football does this, but their sacks. Um, they add their sacks to the rushing attempts. So I mean, to the rushing yards, which I don't know. It don't happen like that in the NFL. I have no clue why. If you get sacked in college football, that it affects you and your rushing. So, um, them numbers are kind of off. I just think that I mean, if you really looked at it, if you was able to take out all the sacks, if you was able to take out the sacks, then he probably would have been well over 600 yards easily. So a lot of dual threat capabilities, um, and not to mention not just the nine offensive starters returning. They return all but one guy on their defense, and 35 out of their 44 dudes in their two deep they return. They lost a nickelback due to draft eligibility. I mean, draft his collegiate time would be expired. I should say. Um, but as far as like the talent that they got on that defense, I thought the kid Xavier Alford. I thought that was their best player on defense. They returned him. If y'all don't remember, he was one of the guys that had to sit out that first half in that Texas game, and that looked like a whole totally different defense once he entered the game in that second half for the Sun Devils. So that's a lot of excitement that they have going on. And and for Sam Levitt, yeah, they lost Cam Scatterbo, um, but he returns his two top offensive receivers, and not to say like they were all world or anything, but it's still some chemistry to build off of last year. So we'll see what happens with that team. Now the scary part about what's going on with Arizona State is they did lose their emotional leader. We can't speak enough about what Cam Scatterbo was to that team last year, and trying to replace him is going to be real tough. I know they still got Kyson Brown. Kyson Brown was the backup to Cam last year. We'll see. We'll see how well he's able to kind of replace that production. They did get a running back out of Army through the transfer portal, Kanye Udo, who was 1,000-yard rusher at Army. But this is a whole new level of football that he's about to be playing. So maybe those two guys together can try to figure out how to kind of replace that production that Cam is going to leave out. But we'll see how that goes. Now, one thing that we've been seeing that's been real trendy is a lot of these teams, since the playoff era has started, a lot of these teams get a leg up when they return starting production. So I don't think Arizona State will be no different. They do got a few landmines on their schedule that could possibly trip them up, but I just think with all that they're returning, it's going to be a tough out, man. It's definitely going to be a tough out. So, I mean, just to break down the schedule, I think week 3 they play Texas State. Week 3 they play Texas State. This is not the normal Texas State team that you just hear and you be like, oh, that's just a blowover game, gimme game. This is the same Texas State program that they only beat by 3 points And yes, I know it was on the road last year, but Texas State, they got one of them young up and coaching, one of them young up and coming coaches, and GJ King, who was actually the head coach for Cam Ward over at Incarnate Word back in 2023. He led them to a 12-2 record. And since he's been at Texas State, he's had them bowl eligible both years he's been there. Or it was 2022. So 2023 and last year, he's had them bowl eligible. Last year with winning 8 games. And I know they played Arizona State real tough. And I know they had some home field advantage to it. And this year they got to travel to Arizona State this year, but nevertheless, I think that can be a real tricky game. I don't think that's just a game. Like I said, Texas State is going to have an explosive offense again this year, even though they lost some guys through the portal as well. But I like what I've seen, and I like what they have out of a young 36-year-old GJ King. I think he's a fabulous coach. He's going to be one of them coaches that we hear about just moving up the charts over these next few years. I think he got another 2 good years at Texas State, and somebody going to have to go out there and snatch him up. But like I said, I don't think by any means that Texas State game, which is their third game of the year, is going to be an easy one at all. That's going to be, I think that's going to be a tough one for them to make it out of that game alive. Um, Now, as far as the other non-conference games, I mean they should blow them 2 games out. They play Mississippi State at Mississippi State. We know Mississippi State is the bottom of the barrel um, in the SEC, and then they got North Arizona, which is Lil Bro. They're not gonna lose. They're not gonna lose the Lil Bro. Now let me talk about the next game after Texas State the next week though, which um, with a team that's in the Big 12 that may be a sleeper for some people. I know I did a little bit of research on these Baylor Bears that they play. They play at Baylor. That could possibly be a landmine for Arizona State this year. Um, and they're at Baylor. Baylor always got a team where they're in an air raid, pro style offense, kind of sort of. Um, but the thing about that being a landmine game for me is Baylor is they're going to be a very experienced team this year. Like they're going to have all seniors and juniors in their 2 deeps. So the majority of them guys are guys that already have experience in college football, and they already will be ready. And they've this is not their first go around, and they got some guys on Baylor. The quarterback, can't think of his name right now. He was a 28 touchdown pass, 8 interception type guy last year. So, and that was another team too. They won 8 games last year, and on top of that, they beat some pretty quality teams last year. So, I don't think that Baylor game is going to be necessarily easy, but their schedule is very manageable. Outside of Baylor, you travel to you play TCU. You got TCU at home. I don't think TCU is back at any moment right now. I don't think they're back, even though they did get 9 wins. They were competitive in the Big 12 last year. Uh, I just I just don't see TCU being on the level of Arizona State, and you get them boys at home. So, and then Utah, they got at Utah the following week. In Utah, we know Cam Rising. He retired from football. He wasn't. I guess all the surgeries. He wasn't medically cleared this year, so he just went ahead and retired from football. I don't think Utah has a quarterback this year, so that game in Utah, we know it's tough to play in Utah, but I don't think they got enough to recover from losing their quarterback so early or late in the year. Um, and then the next game is another landmine. So just to kind of give a little recap, Texas State. I don't think they're going to lose that game. I think that game will be competitive, but by any means they should definitely win that game. But that Baylor game, That's the first landmine. That's their fourth game of the year. We fast forward a couple weeks. You got to go to Utah. We know it's hard to play in Utah. That's the sixth game of the week, but I don't think the talent is there. But that seventh game of the year, they will be playing the Texas Tech Raiders, but they do have them at home. Now, this Texas Tech team, I think, is probably the most talented team in the whole Big 12. And I think that Texas Tech and Arizona State game could possibly determine the whole Big 12 race. Um, Now, if you get to this game, I feel like Arizona State should possibly, more than likely, be undefeated. Texas Tech, they should more than likely be undefeated. So I think the winner of this game will probably have a leg up. And now, this is where, if everything goes right, you got to have a Sam Levitt. You got to have him hitting on all cylinders. You got to have their main top target from last year was Sawyer Robertson. No, not Sawyer Robertson. It was I can't think of the kid's name, but they have two guys. They have two guys that returned from last year. One had 750 passing yards, and the other one, what's his name? Oh, his name is Malik McClain. Malik McClain and Jordan Tyson. So Jordan Tyson was his top target. Jordan Tyson got injured later on the year, but he was over 1,000 yards. I think he got over 1,000 yards. But McClain, he he's a transfer. I think he came from Florida State, if I'm not mistaken. But the kid got high upside, so we'll see. But you need Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson and this whole team. They only got two new offensive starters. They returned everybody on their line except for their left guard. You will need this offense hitting at all cylinders when this time come around. And we understand the defense early in the year for Arizona State. It wasn't the most powerful defense at the beginning of the year. But what one thing is, they did start clicking later on in that year. I think they start gelling, and we need to see that clicking by the time that Texas Tech game come rolling around. If that happens, watch out. This can possibly be a team that's sitting well off in the top 10 come this point in the year. And Texas Tech, I feel like, will be a ranked opponent as well at this time of the year. So, like I said, whoever wins this game, I think may have the leg up in the Big 12. Then you follow up that game. You go, you bring in the Houston Cougars, who Houston, they was in the bottom half of the Big 12. We don't expect them to make a super big leap. And then maybe your most premier game on the season, the next game, you'll be traveling to Iowa State, who we all expect to have a really well-rounded team this year. Even though they lost their two top main receiver targets to the NFL draft, with Noel and Higgins, both of them guys going in the first couple of rounds, I believe. I think they both win in the second round, actually. But nevertheless, we expect that Iowa State team to be a real tough out. And that's what I'm saying. It's not a lot of landmines on this schedule for Arizona State. You 8 games in, and your 3 toughest games has been Baylor, Texas Tech, and Iowa State. That sounds very manageable to me. And then you finish off the year with West Virginia, Colorado, and Arizona. And I know people high on Prime. They got mad love for Prime and Colorado, but I think we'll see a little bit of fall off in Colorado this year without the Travis Hunters of the world and the Shador Sanders. You can't just tell me that they're going to be better than what they were last year and they didn't lost the Heisman Trophy winner. But it's going to get tricky though, because this is one thing we don't know too. We don't know what one of them teams in the Big 12 may or may not pop this year. So like last year, I don't know. Did we see the BYU Cougars being that good? Any one of these teams on this schedule that they got may pop and may be able to try to detour um, Arizona State from actually making the unthinkable happen, which is trying to bring a national championship to the Big 12. Coming into the year, this is the highest rated Big 12 team coming into the year. So we'll see what happens and what they do. But man, want to be interesting. We'll have a lot of good football on our hands. Um, I think. Let me see. Hold up. No, so BYU is will actually be rated number one ahead of Arizona State coming into the year. Um, but this is definitely probably a team that's going to get a lot of votes on media day come conference media days because they did win the Big 12 last year, and you just can't. You talking about returning 19 out of 21 starters, 35 out of 34 your two deep. That's a lot of experience, man, from a team that just made it to the playoffs as well. So they said Jordan Tyson, who was their second best offensive weapon last year, or third, however you want to say it. You could say Sam Levitt. They did say he was cleared to participate in the spring, so he has been active, which is a good sign. Um, and one thing, I do need to mention Raleek Brown. Raleek Brown, I think he's a red shirt freshman. I've been hearing a lot of noise about him, and this is when he plays the running back position. And this is what I was saying about maybe having to replace Cam Scatterbo. They got to find any way they can to replace every because Cam Scatterbo wasn't just a running back. He was also a guy that would run different routes on the route tree. You could throw him the ball. You could put him in space. You can line him up on the outside as a receiver. One second. My bad, fans. Uh, my father kept on calling me. I had to make sure it wasn't serious. Um, where was I at? But I was talking about Raleek Brown. Um, and okay. Well, let me just move on to the defense. The defense returned 10 dudes, but they were number three in defense in the league last year in run defense, and they were number three in scoring defense as well. So we like what we have with the Sun Devils. Um, and if like I said, if that offense is hitting on all cylinders and that defense is continuing off of the momentum that I seen them in with last year, I think, man, they could make a run just as much as anybody else could. I don't think we're going to see any more dominant teams. I don't think we have any more dominant teams again this year. Just like last year, we didn't have any dominant teams. It was nobody that we thought was just going to go from the beginning to the end and just be stomping on everybody as the year went on. So, I mean, whatever they do with the playoff setup, I think it's the same this year. If they win that Big 12 and get that bye or however it go, I think their chances of faring in the playoffs will definitely be all right. As long as they are clicking on all cylinders. And I mean, that's all I got for real. And next week we'll be doing this every Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. And next week we'll get into it. Just make sure y'all hit that bell on YouTube, and we'll definitely keep you updated and posted about who the next team is. But I'm out. Peace. That's Ah.